You're right. You're right, Madonna. Sorry.
Oh,
We were
you
just
got me to Madonna.
lead and kind of bending the rules a little bit.
Oh dear.
You wouldn't get on IRC and do !F serve, would you?
You wouldn't steal a
No.
policeman's helmet, take a dump in it, then
Everything was either Usenet or Wear sites. Or a Hotwire. Was a
I
Hotwire
remember.
hot?
I miss alt.wares.
It was all the binary Usenet. It's like alt dot something binary. It's like ooh. And then you download a bunch of music because they were MP3s. Like, oh, I'm downloading this. Like, it sucked. It was like the worst prepackaged compilation music ever. And it's just, but it's an MP3. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it was way better than those MIDI files. Because let me tell you, there's only so much elevator music stand.
I invested in a Diamond Monster MX200. I had a full rolling wavetable GS Canvas wavetable daughterboard on it, and it actually made most of the MIDIs sound, if not a little better, a lot better for most of the stuff. So it didn't sound so chintzy. And reverb.
I'm just a Sound Blaster guy myself. Sound Blaster 16. Can't build a PC with that one.
Apparently you can these days. It's all built in.
You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal a baby. You wouldn't shoot a policeman and then steal his helmet. You wouldn't go to the toilet in his helmet.
No, you would not.
Here's hoping.
The only time I've ever seen police with a helmet is Riot Police, and if that's around, I don't need to be there.
that's from the IT crowd, by the way, aka the IT crowd. It's as many divisions on that as GIF and GIF.
Why does this still look
Whoa, you have a lot of words on your back.
Oh, since you're here, Darren, let me ask you.
time to start
Your
the show.
December schedule is looking like.
Yeah, let's not do that. I'm going to be on the other side of the world in December.
Okay.
You wouldn't steal Sarah Lane, right?
Maybe
when
you
the
would.
show is supposed to
Maybe.
start.
Hey,
Come
I
on.
didn't steal anyone. Besides, that's not stealing. It's kidnapping. It's a felony.
You know what?
Also need
That's
control.
a felony.
All right, here we go. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Control.
Oh, control. You must have control. There you go.
Alt-delete.
Yes. I miss Alt Delete, the old news group.
I miss Shift Insert.
All right, here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. To find out your power, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, November 10th, 2017 from DTNS headquarters in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline at the beach, I'm Sarah Lane.
And Darren Kitchen, you get to introduce yourself now. This is a
I'm
new thing.
keeping it Friday and saying, hey, Tom, it's good to see you, man.
It's good to see you too. Producer Roger Chang is alongside as well. How are you, sir?
I am enjoying Morrissey Day today.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Morrissey Day. Congratulations, everyone.
Happy
news?
birthday,
No, that's
everyone.
Hey, let's start with a few tech things you should know. Alphabet says its Project Loon partnership with AT&T and T-Mobile has provided internet service to 100,000 residents of Puerto Rico out of a total 3.5 million residents. US FCC says about 44% of cell sites are still out of service on the island.
Several reports surfaced Thursday, starting on Reddit, that the iPhone 10 has trouble recognizing touch input in below freezing weather. Apple says the problem occurs with rapid temperature change. It also says that the screen should become fully responsive after a few seconds, and the issue will be addressed in an upcoming software update.
Yeah, so when you take your iPhone 10 outside, just give it a few seconds to warm up. And then
Yeah,
it should be
just
fine.
don't live anywhere too cold.
Hewlett-Packard Enterprise launched blockchain as a service Friday to enterprise customers that want to run their own blockchain or use it from the cloud. HPE's service is built around R3's Corda ledger, which can keep some records private, something important for financial companies particularly.
During Disney's earnings call, CEO Bob Iger said the company will launch a streaming service called ESPN Plus in the spring of 2018. Iger also said the new app will let users stream our channels on an authenticated basis and subscribe to ESPN Plus for additional sports coverage, including thousands of live sporting events.
Let's get on to some more top stories. In an interview with Politico Pro, U.S. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said he is in favor of strong encryption, which helps prevent fraud and reduces the caseload for the Department of Justice because fewer people fall victims to fraud. He also said that's a separate issue from legal access for criminal cases, and he thinks the idea that strong encryption should be unbreakable is, in his words, unreasonable. He said he understands that accommodating potential government access could weaken encryption. He says, yeah, no, I get it. But he also said, I think that's a legitimate issue that we can debate. How much risk are we willing to take in return for the reward? Adding, quote, there is a cost to having impregnable security, and we've talked about some of the aspects of that. The cost is that criminals are going to be able to get away with stuff, and that's going to prevent us in law enforcement from holding them accountable. So they're bringing this back, Darren. Bringing back the hits.
Again and again. You know, we won this in the 90s with the original crypto wars, and we'll just have to win it again. So it's good to know that Rod agrees with us that strong crypto is great. So you know what? Let them debate it until they're blue in the face, because I don't think any tech company worth their salt is going to side with Big Brother on this one. You can't stop the math.
It sounds very reasonable, believe me. And he's being very reasonable, saying, look, I'm for strong encryption. Yes, there are benefits to it. I like that he's giving that side of the argument. And it sounds very reasonable to say, but it's a risk-reward situation. If we give up just a little bit of security, we'll be able to crack down on these criminals, and we won't give up on too much of the fraud competition, right? And
no, you won't, because the criminals are just going to use strong crypto anyway. So it's just like the only thing you're doing is hindering the lawful.
Well, okay, but let's say, hey, but there are criminals out there that aren't very good at it, and maybe they won't use the strong crypto. It's an either-or situation. If it can be broken, it can be broken for everybody. It's not a thing where you can like, well, weaken it just a little so that most people won't break it. Like, it's math. It's just math.
Yeah, that's the slippery slope. And, you know, oh, but that'll help us get the stupid criminals. It's like, well, that may be today's reality, but what about in 50 years? Come on, you can't put something on the books like this now. And this train has come and gone. You lost in the 90s and the world won.
And we can go down the rat hole again of talking about, yeah, but if the government's the only one that has the key, then someone would have to leak the key. And then we talk about the fact that nobody is very good at protecting these sorts of keys, and they can be exfiltrated. And once it's exfiltrated for everybody, right? This is not a physical key. This is an infinitely copyable key. Once it's out for all intents and purposes for everybody. And honestly, I don't know. I would like, before I agree to that risk, I would like to know what the reward is. The kind of nebulous idea is, well, we could get into these phones and find out stuff, but I don't know how that prevents crime. And a lot of times you get into the phone and you don't find anything very useful. So how much improvement would I get? What's the percentage improvement in fighting crime that I would get? What's the percentage risk that I would take as a user? Let's actually put some numbers on it.
I don't think you're going to get those numbers from the powers that be. I think they're just going to, talk in circles and tell you that it's, important for national security, and that they, of course, can't tell you anything of substance for XYZ reasons. Yeah, that's just been the status quo.
Well, moving on, I would like to ask everyone on the panel today, have you heard of China's ByteDance? If so, raise your hand.
Before today, no.
Okay, well, it's kind of a big deal. It's valued at $20 billion. It has a news aggregator app called Jin to Xiao. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Has 100 million daily users and growing. ByteDance also has agreed to acquire Musical.ly, which is the teen social video app, for about $800 million. And just this week, it also invested $50 million in Live.me, which is a US focused mobile streaming app from China's Cheetah. And that's not all. Dropped $88.6 million to acquire Cheetah's French-based media aggregation service, News Republic. So ByteDance is kind of a big deal these days. Also operates an English language news app called Top Buzz, invested in an India-based Daily Hunt. And ByteDance uses AI to tailor stories to its news headline app. I mean, honestly, before this morning, I had never heard of this before.
Yeah. This because you only hear about Alibaba and Tencent, right? Those are the Googles and Amazons. It sounds like ByteDance is a Snapchat or smaller. It is something that is on the rise. It's kind of Musical.ly. Musical.ly's huge, but a lot of people haven't heard of it, even in the US, if they're not in the know, if they're not in the group that uses it. And they are really expanding outside of China in an aggressive way, according to this TechCrunch article.
Do you think this has the potential to kind of obtain status worldwide that other services out of China like WeChat currently have?
Yeah, WeChat's another great example of like, it's huge in China and it's starting to make some inroads outside, but it's harder. This is interesting where China just bought the next Snapchat, right? A smaller Chinese company just bought the hottest young app on the market. So instead of having to wait for, for instance, for their news aggregator app to make its way out, they just bought into the US market in a big way. This is akin to Lenovo buying IBM's ThinkPad business.
That makes sense.
On a smaller scale, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, New Zealand security firm NetSafe has developed a chatbot called ReScam that engages email scammers. If you receive an email scam, you can forward it to me at rescam.org, and a proxy email account will be created that begins engaging the scammer with the intent of wasting their time. Now, this isn't a new principle, but the principle is that scams and email and spam work because you can send out millions and billions cheaply, and you only need a very small percentage of responses to make it worthwhile. What this is doing is saying, well, let's make it more costly to send these things out. Let's waste their time with bots that respond to them. The Verge notes that there was a pre-programmed collection of 16 voice snippets called Lenny that was vague enough to waste telemarketers' time. Darren, do you think this is going to be effective?
Yeah, I mean, it could be if it was rolled out large scale. I mean, it's the whole like spam model, which is like you only need 1 in a million clicks. So if you just do the same back to them. I love the concept. I mean, we've all gotten those calls from like Microsoft tech support, and they of course want you to like, do something on your computer. And that's the time where if you can execute on it, it's super fun to spin up a little Windows XP virtual machine and actually go through the motions with them, because you're wasting their time. And in some cases, you can actually get a reverse shell back on their machine. To the hacker-minded there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But the thing with this is you don't have to spend that time yourself. You can let the bot do it. But Sarah, are people going to do that? Are they going to even spend the time to forward this to the bot?
I mean, if it cut down on the spam that I received, particularly text spam, which is, the bane of my existence these days, sure. But I don't know. It doesn't really solve a problem as far as I'm concerned. It's like all you're doing is like throwing back more junk into like the junk atmosphere, that's clogging up some pipe somewhere. So, yeah, I don't know. If somebody were to say, if you can never get any spam again, would you use this? I'd say yes. But it seems like counterproductive, especially because in many cases, the person that's the spammer on one side is a real person. And I don't necessarily want to make their lives bad either.
Yeah, you're right. They're just trying to provide for their families by calling everybody up and getting them to download an executable and run it on their computer.
I'm not going to argue that's like, it's not a service that anyone wants. But yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes these things are a little bit more nuanced.
Well, sometimes those things are bots too. So I don't know. If everybody did it, it would cut down on spam, because it would make it too costly for a lot of people to keep doing these scams, and it would protect people who are vulnerable. But I just don't think enough people are going to do it for it to make a visible difference, unfortunately. What do we got left?
Well, Uber has lost its appeal in the UK's Employment Appeal Tribunal over employee benefits, which means the tribunal upheld its decision that Uber drivers are employees. They're not contractors, they're employees, and they must be paid minimum wage and receive statutory holiday pay. The tribunal also said the independent contractors must have no requirement that work be offered, no obligation to offer work, and that Uber does not meet the definition because that Uber drivers, at least right now, accept 80% of tips to maintain status. Uber said it will appeal to the Court of Appeal, which is in the UK, the last stop before UK's Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So the way I read this, it makes it seem like if Uber didn't require that their drivers accept 80% of the trips, that they could be considered contractors. So then they could have a workforce of...
And Uber says they've dropped that 80% requirement in the UK. Uber says we don't require that 80%. But I think the point is you can't require them to ever take a trip. That has to be entirely their decision for them to be considered a contractor.
It sounds like when these things come up, Uber is always like, okay, great. What are the particular rules for this game? Because we'll just fit our business model into your game. And but from the legislative side, that's not actually what they're playing. They're not saying like, oh, you have to fit into this hole. They're just saying GTFO.
Well, this is something Uber has dealt with in a variety of municipal areas that it has operated in, where the city is like, wait a second, contractors versus employees, we have thoughts on this. So, I mean, the UK saying, hey, they have to be employees is not something new necessarily. What I always find a little amusing is that Uber kind of goes like, well, no, we just want to make it like really convenient for drivers to kind of do other stuff, whatever. When in reality, they just don't want to pay a certain wage and provide benefits.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I get where the ride hailing app like this could work really well with entirely independent contractors. Like we have an open platform. Anybody can drive for us. You're contractors, but Uber has a lot of restrictions. And some of those restrictions are quite necessary, but because of those restrictions, it does make them sort of in this gray area between, well, you're a full-time employee, but you're not. And that's what's getting worked out in all of these cases. Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to Daily Tech Headlines at dailytechheadlines.com, available on the Amazon Echo, Google Home, and in the Anchor app. Now, Thursday, YouTube announced a new policy that will restrict videos that appear kid-friendly but contain adult themes to people 18 and over, people who are logged in with an account that says they're 18 and over. Granted, you could be under 18 and have that kind of account, but there's not much they can do about that. YouTube says it takes a few days for those kind of videos to make it from YouTube to YouTube Kids, though, and that's where this really does become effective. It hopes this new policy will stop inappropriate videos from making the jump. YouTube already uses an algorithm to block these, and they say the fraction of such videos not caught by the algorithms is 0.005% over the last 30 days, but they're putting some humans on the case to flag and review to try to bring that percentage down even farther. Roger, you've been kind of following this because you use YouTube Kids with your daughter.
Yeah, and one of the things that a lot of these videos have in common is they flag it with keywords as well as tags that make it seem like popular videos that use a lot of the same characters. Now, a lot of these children's videos typically do 2 to 3 things that are similar. They do repetitive musical style counting, colors, object identification, or they do something kind of like a child version. We were talking earlier, a child's version of unboxing, which usually involves unwrapping little toys or opening up like a Kinder Egg surprise, which is a chocolate egg with a toy in the middle. But unfortunately, I don't know. I'm not sure what the motivation behind it is. But a lot of these kind of more, I want to say, raunchy videos use a lot of the same things, but then they start getting into very adult themes, whether it's kind of innuendo, like heavy innuendo, or explicit things that are not child friendly. It's kind of, it is a worrisome trend, because as a parent, you assume that YouTube Kids is kid friendly, and unfortunately, it's managed. A lot of these videos, even if only a small percentage make it through, they end up in the playlist. For example, we were talking earlier. There is a gentleman and his daughters that do a series of videos called Bad Baby Freak, and it's just him and his daughters doing very destructive or very messy, kind of borderline disturbing videos, but they rack up huge amounts of views. I'm talking like 200+ million views for these videos.
Now, let's be very clear. You are not accusing that channel of violating YouTube's policies. You're just saying it's kind of weird. It's kind of on the edge. And you're not sure if you're comfortable with your daughter watching them.
Well, I'm not comfortable with, videos showing kids blatantly breaking things or causing a mess, which could be dangerous to someone else. It's kind of like the same way that people view Looney Tunes cartoons, where a lot of the slapstick might be appropriate for.
Well, that doesn't sound so bad then.
Yeah, if you're an adult, that's fine. But if you're a kid and you're trying to like light a match under someone, because it's laughing giggles, not such a cool thing.
Right. This is an important problem to solve because at least, when we all grew up, our parents knew that they could stick us in front of the TV with pretty good assurance that, depending on the channel, that it had gone through the censors and such, and that, the Saturday morning cartoons were not going to have risky themes that were going to, do too much damage. But I can see the slippery slope there on the open platform that is YouTube.
Well, yeah. It's definitely especially with younger children, and kids, really like picking out what they want to watch, right? I'll try to move and say, no, you're not watching this. My daughter will shove my hand or grab my hand and push it out of the way because she wants to pick. And it's definitely something that I would remind any parent is that you definitely need to watch anything your kid watches. Even if it is on YouTube Kids, you can't really assume. It's now not as bad as it used to be before. Now it's just maybe 1 out of 20. It used to be a 1 out of 10 videos that you were kind of scratching your head about, and it's like, man, I don't think this is appropriate.
Yeah. All right. Before we get out of here, I also want to ask Darren about a story on Wired from Andy Greenberg about Benjamin Delpy. Benjamin Delpy is a French government employee, developer, who also in his spare time developed a tool called Mimikatz, which can extract a Windows password out of memory. The Wired article describes how when Delpy was in Moscow for a talk, he came back to his hotel room after complaining about the internet connection to find a man with a black bag with his hands on Delpy's laptop. And it was because of Mimikatz. Mimikatz is something that has been used in everything. It was incorporated into NotPetya, into Bad Rabbit. All the malware has Mimikatz, but Delpy didn't make it maliciously. He made it to show and demonstrate vulnerabilities in Windows so that Microsoft could fix them. And you've actually had a chance to meet him. This is a really interesting example of a hacker who is just doing something to show something, and it has all kinds of consequences.
Yeah, and it's your typical story of, hacker discovers a vulnerability, they develop a proof of concept tool, which eventually gets refined and adopted by the mainstream. And especially within the hacking community, Mimikatz is one of your go-to tools because it literally it takes all the work out. It used to be that you would have to extract a hash from a Windows system and then put another computer with a powerful graphics card cracking at that hash to give you the plain text password. You just run mimikatz.exe with a couple of arguments, and it says, here's the plain text password. But it only does that on machines that you're running with administrative privileges. So it's weird for me to call him Benjamin. I know him as Gentle Kiwi, his hacker name. But what Gentle Kiwi, at Gentle Kiwi on Twitter, developed this for was to demonstrate this weakness where if you're running an organization in a mismanaged way where your people have that administrative access to those machines, that is an inherent vulnerability. And Microsoft, and this was like a proof of concept thing, and to show Microsoft, like, hey, there's a flaw in your one subsystem here, and Microsoft acknowledges it and says, well, it's not really that much of a flaw, because by the time somebody could actually execute Mimikatz and do something useful with it, you've got bigger problems.
Well, I thought that was a really interesting blind spot because Microsoft was thinking about it in a single machine situation. Like, hey, if somebody is able to use Mimikatz, they already own your machine. And what turned out to be so useful for other malware was like, yeah. And once I get in that machine, if I'm on the network, I can use that same vulnerability to get into other machines because it's based on that ability to share your credentials. So now I'm in this machine, I could log into that other machine. And once I'm on that other machine, then I can own that machine, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah, the technique is called pivoting, and it's essential to being able to, maintain like an advanced persistent threat in an organization. And typically, what happens is, you try to get a remote connection to a machine, and one is none, two is one. So you try to get as many remote connections as possible. So you're always pivoting, in a low-hanging fruit situation to try to find your best way to typically the domain controller, or basically, the kind of brains of the operation that has access to everything. And funnily enough, it's the administrators that have that kind of access. And what happens here, because of the sharing service, the way that this the vulnerability that this takes advantage of, is it means that if you compromise this computer, yeah, you can get that user's password, but you can also get any other user that is logged into this machine's password, which in many cases, a lot of IT shops will use Windows Remote Desktop to provide tech support so that the administrator can log into a machine remotely and control the mouse and keyboard and fix the problem. Well, now from that machine, you've also got the administrative password.
Yeah.
And anybody else is logged.
It's the kind of thing that Microsoft, even when he told them about it, was like, I don't think that's that big a deal. And it took this demonstration to get them to start to mitigate it, such to the point that he now speaks at Microsoft when they do their blue hat hacker events. And I think, on the one hand, you could look at this and say, what a horrible person for making this tool that all these hackers use. But the hackers are only using it because the vulnerability didn't get patched.
Well, it got worked around. I mean, part of the reason is, in the Microsoft defense, because of the way that the system is built, it's a tough problem to solve because your password is encrypted on that system, but it also has to keep the key somehow so that it knows how to decrypt that. So they're both in memory. It's akin to me emailing you a password protected zip file and me putting the password in the same email.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com and our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. We've been getting a lot of interesting thoughts on ways that Facebook could better handle the revenge porn system that it's testing out in Australia, which I guess is one of the reasons you test it out instead of just rolling it out. Let us start. Oh, it almost sounded like somebody had a train going on there. What was that? Let's start by checking in with Jimmy.
Hey, DTNS. This is Jimmy from Not Ready for This Cold, Minnesota. I had an idea for that Facebook revenge porn deal. What if they had a spot where you go to like facebook.revenge porn, you upload your picture, you blur out your naughty bits in your face, and the people that would look would see the blurred out one, but the background image would still be the regular one for the computer to look at and set the hashtag or whatever to not let that photo be seen. Love to hear what you guys think.
Okay, so that's...
I mean, if it were me and I was like, you know what, I'm going to get in front of this whole thing and, email Facebook, I would do this. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, someone else emailed and said, well, wait a minute. Facebook doesn't allow nude photos, so they probably have a system of machine learning that they're working on to identify nude photos and block them. Couldn't you just say like, hey, anybody tries to post a picture with my face and it's got a naked body in it, get rid of it? Or can't Facebook just block all the nude photos from being posted?
That seems like the most reasonable solution, and you would think that would already be in place. I mean, there's a reason why you don't see pornography on YouTube, but it's the same kind of deal because there's machine learning that has figured it all out and prevents it.
Yeah. What else we got, Sarah?
Well, we got an email from Nick who says, hello, Tom, Sarah, Roger, and Darren. On the subject of Raja Kaduri going to Intel and apparently starting work on a PCIe graphics card, right? We talked about this, leaving from AMD. Raja made it clear in a public post that he had been burned at RTG, that's the Radeon Technology Group, and he took a leave of absence.
Like he worked himself to death, yeah.
Right, several months back. So to see him move on to another company, not totally unexpected, right? The nature of the graphics card industry is that Intel, NVIDIA, AMD all have cross-licensing agreements with each other. And so nobody can develop graphics technology in a bubble, really, although Intel is patent poor in this area. This is according to Nick anyway. Though Intel will likely be able to license the patents needed for NVIDIA and AMD without a legal battle, despite AMD's posturing as the three companies normally license patents to each other.
Yeah, and as I often do when people say stuff like this, not because I don't believe them, but because I want you guys to be able to have the resources, I asked Nick to send me some links to some of these statements. So he's got AMD's statement on separating RTG from the rest of AMD's operations. He's got NVIDIA cross-licensing agreement. He's got Raj's letter on anantech.com. So all those links will be in the show notes as well. And Nick pointed out when he sent me those links that he gets a lot of this kind of good information from shows like PC Perspective, which is a great show if you're really into hardware. Go check that out with Nathan Trout. All right. We're missing Len Peralta today. He's out today. We're very sorry they couldn't make it, but he's got a bunch of stuff going on. But he's still hard at work on the DTNS yearly poster at lenperaltastore.com. And you might be able to squeeze in and get your name on the poster if you order quick. So head over to lenperaltastore.com and check out that poster and maybe plop down a little money. You'll get a copy of the poster and get your name on all of them. It's a great way to show your support of Len and his art. Thank you, Darren Kitchen, for joining us. It's been so long. It's so good to have you back, man.
It's been way too long, so we'll have to do this again sometime soon.
Yes, absolutely. If you stop globetrotting long enough, let us know.
Right?
It's pretty fun.
You know, if anybody watching is actually interested in doing a little demo for their organization with Mimikatz to kind of like, open the purse strings for InfoSec stuff, it's actually a really easy thing to do yourself. Just Google Hack5 Mimikatz. You'll find an episode from 2013 that's still applicable today, Hack5 episode 1503, where even there's, we recreated the 15-second Mr. Robot hack with Mimikatz and a USB rubber ducky. So just Google Hack5 Mimikatz and you'll see it all.
Go check it out. Also, Insta correction. Someone called me out and said, apparently I called Ryan Shrout Nathan. It's only because I think of Nathan Fillion and Ryan Shrout in the same, category. But yes, I don't know what I said, but it's Ryan, not Nathan Shrout, PCPerspective.com. Hey, we need your help. We're picking one of our holiday specials. Every year we run special episodes between Christmas and New Year's. And like usual, we do a predictions show, a show where we see how well we predicted things last year, a listener co-host show. But what should our other special be? Our advisor level patrons have narrowed it down to 5 options, and you get to choose. Go vote now. Anybody can vote. Patreon.com/DTNS. Just look for the poll. Right now, the retro show is doing very well.
Also, if you want to get a hold of us via email, that's cool too. Email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're, of course, live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern or 21:30 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And, of course, our website is dailytechnewsshow.com.
We'll be back on Monday, I believe, with Veronica Belmont. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Good show. Le show bon, as they say in French.
Le show bon.
Le show bonbon. That's the candy show. Right. Hey, what do we have for title ideas?
What's the URL for that?
It is showbot.tv.
We have you can't stop the math. When the math is outlawed, only the outlaws will use math.
Mm-hmm. Classics.
Roger's enjoying Morrissey Day. With great math come great responsibility. I think that comes great responsibility. Spambot revenge in YouTube parentis. YouTube tuning in on the inappropriate video. The dark side of YouTube kids. That's it.
I like the Spambot revenge.
Ryan Trout.
Nathan Strout. Ryan Hut.
You know, when you said that, I was like, oh, there's probably a new host.
But I did. So I did say Nathan.
You did, yeah.
No
But,
idea where that came from.
You know, you corrected yourself.
Who is Nathan Trout? That's not even a person.
I don't know. I don't know who that is, Tom.
I hold myself to a very high standard here.
You combine Nathan Fillion and Ryan Trout.
No, that's absolutely it. I just think of Ryan Trout as the Nathan Fillion of hardware. So
Of a PC perspective.
yeah. Hey, what do you got?
Our math outlaw is number one.
Yeah.
One.
I still like the Spambot.
Spambot revenge.
Yeah.
That's good too.
I want to see the Spambot talk to another Spambot. You know, I just want to see that like continue on for infinity.
Right. Because the spammer will set up a bot, and then the
Right.
spam bot will talk to the spam bot, and then they'll never stop talking.
Yeah, the idea being like, okay, well, scammers are going to realize that there's all these bots that are like now, you know, posing as humans. So they'll kind of like use a scam bot to like weed them out and then escalate the like humans to kind of tier 2 scam support, you know?
What if this is a kind of adversarial learning though, and eventually both bots realize the uselessness of their argument, set aside their differences, and team up to conquer us all?
Right, because then they would be quite upset that they had been unleashed for such a worthless task.
You have to monitor it and look for the phrase, wait, why are we arguing? And then sound the alarm.
Mm-hmm. Well, what we could do is we could set up a bot to look for that phrase.
But what if that bot... All right, Spambot revenge then? Is that what we're...
I don't know. I think you already used the math outlawing thing.
I mean, yes, we absolutely have many times over the years.
I mean, you wouldn't outlaw math, would you?
You wouldn't steal math.
You wouldn't steal math.
You wouldn't steal a car. I remember actually seeing that and someone in the movie going, I would.
I like that it used to be that we would steal a hash from a Windows computer, and then we would use lots of math to try to figure out the password behind it. And then Gentle Kiwi is like, but what if we just ask the computer to give us the password in plain text?
That's nicely. It'll do it. Oh my gosh, I just realized, I'm like, why does my head hurt? It's because the hat is too tight.
Does it take
Oh
it
yeah,
down
I
to the
hate
biggest hole?
Needs it to be a little looser. I must have gotten a fatter head since the last time I wore it.
Did you move your studio, Tom?
I moved
Not in
to
the
the other
basement
side of the
anymore.
room. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the fireplace is now in front of you.
The fireplace is there.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, I understand where you are now.
Yeah.
Which means the front door is to that way for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just did this so you've got a quicker escape if you need. You can just bolt for it.
It really did improve the feng shui because I moved the couch over there, and now you walk in and you walk into the room instead of having to walk around the couch.
Coolio. I can't wait to see it in person, IRL.
Yeah, when you come down.
Days when I don't know. I was going to tell Roger I'm gone from like the vast majority of December, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the other show. I'll be in South Africa for 3 weeks, so
go Springboks.
After, so it'd be the new year.
All right.
Next time
No
I'm
worries.
getting down there.
Are you going
Probably
to CES? You're not. are
Nah. What's going to happen is I'm going to get tired of this this Bay Area winter and come down to LA for some nice weather.
There you go. Come on down.
What's really going to happen is I'm going to spend all of December in South Africa and celebrate Christmas on
In
a
the
beach
summer,
in the
yeah.
sun in the summer. And then I'm going to come back to the rude awakening that is January in the Bay. And I'm going to say, forget this, I'm going to LA.
And then you're going to come down to LA and go, it's warmer in South Africa.
Yeah.
Christmas in South Africa. A traditional beach Christmas.
Well, they really mean that you can still dream of a white Christmas. It's just white sand.
White sands. Yeah.
White sands. Yeah. And they've got penguins on the beach.
Oh, buddy.
In South Africa, they have penguins on the beach?
In Cape Town.
That's amazing.
Supposedly. I haven't been to Cape Town yet. So
I want to go play with penguins. They're probably not
right.
Me too.
I don't know. I'm gonna win them over by bringing a copy of Red Hat 3 on floppy.
One of them will be Tux. You know it.
Yeah. You know, he's just gonna waddle up to me and be like, "Oh, let's be friends."
Yeah. I imagine penguins being very cuddly. They probably like spit in your face and bite you, but
yeah, I don't know.
No, I
think
don't
they're playful.
know.
I don't know if they're jerks.
I don't think penguins are supposed to be aggressive.
okay.
They
They're
are,
just cute.
depending on whether they will peck at you.
That
Roger, your
the
volume
Tux
is
penguin
way
is actually
down. We're not ignoring you. We can just barely hear you.
Way down. I haven't
Yeah.
done anything.
I don't know. Are you just not? I don't know what you did.
I haven't done anything. Hello? Hello?
That's a little better.
How's that? Here, let me crank it up in here. I literally did not do anything. How's that?
There you go. Now we
That's
can hear.
better.
Can you hear me
fine
now?
on the show.
Yeah, I haven't touched anything.
I don't know. Maybe you're leaking air from your lungs.
Possibly. Possibly.
Are any of you guys on a Mac currently?
Yes.
Who wants to know?
Okay. The person that just posted something in the DTNS Slack, because as it turns out, if you hold down Command and Space to get your Spotlight action on, and you type just that into Spotlight and hit Enter, you will be treated with ASCII rendition of Star Wars.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what do you type in? Just that?
Yeah. That's all you have to do.
Oh, into a terminal window?
For listeners at home, you don't have to open up a terminal first. If you pull up Spotlight with Command Space, and you type in telnet : / towel.blinkenlights.nl.
Oh, I forgot it. I think I may have done this before. This sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
Although
for all you Windows users, you haven't had Telnet since Windows XP.
Telnetting into
sorry.
Strange things is always daunting, but
it's fun.
Good for you.
I've been doing a bunch of security research for cross-platform payloads on the USB Rubber Ducky new book coming out. This is the proof. Looks pretty
nice. Looking good.
And that's one of my favorite ones for the Mac.
And then
get your point across quickly. It's like a payload. It's like plug in a USB Rubber Ducky, boom, Star Wars. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That could have been terrible.
And Darren now owns your machine.
No, it's just this hackerspace in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I need to set up my own rendition of this. I need Telnet to like demo.hack5.org with like, I don't know, recreate some movie in ASCII. Wouldn't be Star Wars.
No, that would be a violation of intellectual property. It'll be our own movie called War Stars.
I would call it Stellar Conflict.
Stellar Conflict.
There's like all of these adaptations of mainstream properties, especially like video games in the modern era, but I haven't seen a good adaptation of some classic games. I'd like to see an Asteroids, like Hollywood blockbuster.
Yeah.
It literally would be a blockbuster.
Yeah. Blocks of asteroids.
Asteroids. There was the last Starfighter.
Telnet tal.blinkenlights.nl. That's been around for a while, I think, right?
At least 10 years.
I feel like I did this at CNET. That's why I think you're right. It's been around.
As it turns out, Spotlight only supports a couple of URI schemas. So, like, I think it's telnet : SMB : AFP, HTTP, HTTPS, and a few others. So, trying to find the ones that work on both Windows and Mac.
Do tell, Net.
And then I got really bummed out that they pulled Telnet out of Windows. It's the end of an era.
Yeah, felt that way when they pulled the command prompt out.
Still there.
They just replaced it with PowerShell.
Yeah. Obviously.
Oh, you mean DOS? Oh, yeah, you're right. It used to be they could type in command.com and get DOS as opposed to cmd.exe or com. That was actually.
Yep. Good times.
Yep.
As not to let the Windows listeners off the hook, they can hit Windows key R and type in tree and hit enter.
Oh.
Or even tree.com, which is not a website. Tree is probably the best command in all of the history of DOS.
That's my favorite version of Windows, Windows Tree 0.1.
For work groups?
Yes, for work groups.
Was there any other kind?
All right. Thank you all for watching. Go vote. Do your civic duty. Let us know what our holiday special should be, and we will talk to you again on Monday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.